What is going on, you guys? My name is Stephen Farrell, and I'm a visual artist, a podcast host, a mind coach, and a motivational speaker, and I'm based in Dublin in Ireland. For this project that I've been working on for the last while, I have been funded by the Irish Arts Council. So I want to say a big, huge thank you to the Irish Arts Council for funding this project. I'm incredibly grateful for it. And it was an incredibly fun project to do. Over the course of the project, and what it is basically is a project of how to step-by-step painting tutorials. The project is inspired by the animals of Irish mythology. In this episode, we're going to paint the grey horse Macha, who was a grey horse of Cuchulainn. Now, we do also find horses in other stories like the land of Tir na nÓg. In this episode, we are going to be painting this horse. So we're going to take this canvas from a blank white canvas and we're going to come up with this. Over the course of this series and in each episode, we're going to use pretty similar paints. The reason for that is I wanted to keep the material costs as low as possible. I didn't want to go out and start buying all artist quality everything and have you stretching your own canvas, because that would have put you off most likely. I wanted this to be as accessible, as easily accessible to as many people as possible. So everything I bought was as cheap as I could get it, unless I couldn't get it, and then I used what I had. So we've got our three primary colors, and I'm going to put a link, or I'm going to put some information as to what you're going to need. Three primary colors are red, our yellow, and our blue. We've got black, we've got white. We also have burnt sienna, burnt umber, and yellow ochre. But we're going to cover that in a few moments. As I say, I'm going to pop up the essential tools for this process and some paintbrushes as well. The most important thing and the best part of this is it's about having fun and expressing yourself creatively. And that was really my goal with this. So again, before we move on to the first in the series, the first episode, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the Arts Council of Ireland. I'm incredibly grateful for that support. Enjoy this. Any comments that you want to leave in the comment box, please do. And if you want to get in touch with me, if you get these paintings done, I'd love to see them. I really would. So link them into my email. You can find my website details here, stephenfarrell.ie, or you can send them to my Instagram. All of that will be linked, I'm sure, in the notes of this. And yeah, let's get going. Let's have fun. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start working on the mane of the horse. So as you can see, we've got the mane coming down here, and we've also got the forelock here. So we're going to start working on that, and we're going to start using the filbert. We are going to start bringing in the mane, and based on how you want the mane to flow. I mean, you could have it really kind of whimsically flowing like a wind machine, blowing the hair across the horse's face and neck. So really what we're doing is we're getting a bit of burnt umber, a little bit of sienna, and we're just going to outline or draw in how we want the mane to flow. And just draw in pretty much like this where you want the mane to flow, nice and gently. And then once we do this, so once we kind of get this umber and sienna mix with a bit of titanium white, once we get this outlined, what we can do is, so we're going to do it like this, and then what we're going to do is put in more highlights, which will bring in definition. So I really want my horse's mane to come down here and to be really, really flowy. So very magical, mythical, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna want it to come down. I'm gonna put in more definition, of course, later, but for now, I just really want to indicate where I want the mane to go. Now there's gonna be a thicker part here, so I'm gonna make that a bit darker. I'll bring up the white, titanium white on it as well. And then I also want the mane to kind of come off the horse's face here. So really flowy, really lots of movement in it. And again, really kind of magical and mythological, that kind of idea is what we're going for. Brilliant. So you can pause me now and come back to me in a few minutes when you're ready to get going on the next step. So now that we've got a lot of the hair done, what we're going to do is do some work on the horse's face. So we're just going to bring out some of the features. So lots of highlight, some low light, some shade and stuff. So using this brush, now that we have the horse's mane pretty much not quite done, but getting there, very much the depth and the tone is established. Some fine highlights and details are there. And now we're going to highlight some of the face of the horse. We're going to use this brush. So again, this brush is really great for drawing in, or painting in, of course, but almost drawing in detail. So if you follow me, we're just going to highlight some of the pieces around the eyes, around the muzzle, around the nose, that kind of thing, to kind of bring the horse to life. So here we go. Now again, like I've been saying, if you place a mark in the wrong place, don't worry about it. Number one, no one's going to know. And number two, you can go over it with a different mark. You can get rid of it. You can not quite erase it, but you can definitely go over it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just very gently stroking in with, again, the dry brush technique. So there's only really acrylic on the paintbrush, and it's not too wet. Now it is wet, of course, we have to be able to apply it, but it's not too wet. So it will allow me to give nice marks, and they will make it look like it's hair. Really nice, really controlled though. You know, you're definitely focused on putting marks where you want them to go at this stage. So I really want to highlight up the cheek here, certain parts of it, not the whole thing. And that's why I'm not using a larger brush. I'm not using the larger filbert brush, because that would block in too much color. I really want to just focus on where I want the highlight to go. So imagine it's your head of hair, and it's not, obviously it's not all the one color when the light is hitting it. There are certain parts of it that are highlighted, and certain parts, like my own hair, highlighted. So what we're doing, we're just lightening up at this stage. Titanium white, straight up titanium white, no mix with anything. We're just drawing it on. The paint that we're using is, again, it's a student quality paint, so the titanium in it is not going to be, the pigment quality isn't going to be as high, as I say, as an artist quality. So we might have to go over it a few times more than we would if it was artist quality. But that's okay, because if we do place a mark in the wrong location, and we didn't want it there, it's going to be easier to rectify. So it is literally, we're just drawing in the highlights of the horse, where we want them to go. And then in a few minutes, and as I'm doing this, I might touch up some of the mane as well. I might come back to it. I'm going to go in around the eye line. I'm really just going to bring and put in some little dots here just for kind of highlights, and really bring the horse to light. We're getting very much to the end of the painting now. So as you can see, I'm also touching up parts of the mane, and I'm going to come back into, I'm going to bring the tone of the mane back down, and then I'm going to bring it back up. So I'm going to give it a wash in a few moments. I'm going to explain what that is as well, but I'm going to give it a bit of a color wash in certain parts to tone down the white, and then I'm going to bring some of the white back into it. And that's just building depth, really. And yeah, so you can pause me as I say, or you can pause this part, or you can continue on with me. And then when we're ready to go again, in a couple of minutes, we are going to do some more block work, and then we should be pretty much finished the horse. Now, just as we're coming to very close to the kind of last period of this painting, what I want to do is add a bit of depth into the horse's mane to start, and then we're going to do some shadow on the horse's face. So in order to add some depth, I'm actually using a different paintbrush. It's a little bit larger than the other ones. It's incredibly covered in paint, so I don't know exactly which one it is, but I'm going to find out for you, and I'm going to link it in as well. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to add some sienna, and some titanium white together and kind of mix a nice tone of it. But we're going to add some water too. So I don't want it incredibly overloaded with pigment. I want it to be a wash more than a block of color. So it should be, yeah, there we go. Might be a little bit too loaded for me there. So I'm just dabbing it off a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is just bring it into certain parts of the horse's mane to add depth. So of course we don't want it to be one flat color because that wouldn't be natural. So we are just going to, now I don't want to bring it down onto the piece of the mane that you can see the background through. I really just want it on the pieces of the mane that are around the neck and of course the forelock as well we're going to work on. So I'm just going to mix another bit of a wash there. And just remember, it doesn't have to be a block of color. It doesn't even have to be that strongly applied. I really just want to give a hint of depth here. So it's really gradually, really slowly building it up, adding in, of course, some water there to take some of the pigment out of it and to create more of a wash than anything. And this will allow us to just build nice tone, nice shade here. And then what we're going to do finally is go over it again with titanium white. So the thing about this is, the process is, at least my technique is, I build it up and I bring it back, and I build it up and I bring it back until I get exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to maybe add a little bit more sienna up and around here, and maybe a bit of umber. So there might be a bit too much titanium white up here for me. So I'm going to add a little bit of umber, just kind of bring it down. What I'm going to do is come down into the forelock and shade off little bits of it here. But I'm also going to come down into the horse's face, because I want to add some warm shadow. Now I'm going to be putting in some gray in a couple of moments as well. A gray, black and white, titanium white and Mars Blacks mix to a nice gray, but I just want it to be a bit warmer. I'm going to be going over this. If it doesn't really, if there's too much of it, I can of course take it out. But I just want to do it like this. I just kind of want to add some shade in and some warmth, and there we go. So you can see it's bringing in a nice tone there onto the horse, so the horse isn't too cold. Now you're probably looking and you're saying, geez, its mane is pretty flowy, isn't it? It's in the wind. But if remember we were talking earlier and I said it's almost like a Connemara pony, and I know I said I'd use Connemara, or I'd use horse and pony, the words interchangeably, although I do know they're different things. But if anyone knows anything about Connemara, it is bloody windy in Connemara. So imagine this horse, or this pony, this Connemara pony, is just standing in the middle of a field in Connemara, and it is the wind is blowing and it's blowing its mane like this. So that's kind of the idea we're going for. Lovely and flowy, and there we go. If anyone ever saw the movie, one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, actually still a great movie now, I must watch it again soon. It's called Into the West, and it's an Irish-made movie, and it's about a white horse and two traveller kids, and they take the horse and they go towards the west with this beautiful horse, and they call the horse Tir na Og because, of course, Tir na Og is the land of eternal youth, and in Irish mythology, the land was found in the west, so out towards Sligo, I'd say, or Galway, or Connemara, I guess. So what I'm doing now is just adding some sienna, some umber, and titanium white, and I'm just going to add another bit of this wash here. It's a really gentle bit of the wash. Now what happens is you can get a flow improver for acrylic, and what it does is it keeps the pigment quality as you're giving it a wash, but because if you add too much water to an acrylic, it destroys the bonding ability of the acrylic, but it also ruins the pigment quality, of course, because you're thinning it out. So that's why they have a flow improver. Now, again, what I said at the start was I didn't want to make this any more expensive than it had to be. It really needed to be accessible to everybody. So there was no point in you going out and spending 10 or 12 euro on a flow improver. If you're only ever going to use it once, I mean, I have flow improvers that I bought 12 years ago and I still have them. So I don't use them that often. So there was no point in you guys using them. So we're just getting up now to the part of this that I'm going to now speed through again. So we're going to put some more highlight into the mane, and then we're going to do some work on the face, and then we're going to be good to go. What I love to do is draw with this paintbrush, and it kind of allows, certainly if you want to get some fine line work done, it's a super paintbrush for that, because it allows you to kind of get these lines in. It's great for hair. If you can imagine hair being blown in the wind, it's not all blowing straight, it can curl, like kind of weave, and that's what I love about this. It gives you that lovely kind of brush stroke, really nice. Now, there we go. So it is very wild looking hair, of course, but that's the idea I'm going with. Really flowy, really lovely, and that's what we're aiming for. So when I get the hair finished, I'm going to do some more work in the hair, a few more minutes, and then I'm going to come down onto the face, do a little bit of shade work, bring up the highlights, and then we are good to go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come down onto the face of the horse and just kind of give it some of the shade, almost like the same wash that we had, only a different color, of course. We're going to use some Mars Black, we're going to use some Titanium White, and we're going to use probably 3 or 4 times more Titanium White than Mars Black. So we want quite a light gray, and again, it's going to be a wash. So we're going to have a lot of water on it, and we're going to, and sometimes when you have a dark wash like this, you never really know how it's going to turn out. So let's just go with the flow and see what happens. So there we go. Okay, so it's nice. Might be a little bit too wet for me, so I just dab it off a little bit, and it's a nice wash there. It's okay, it's not winning any awards, so what I'm going to do is dab it off a little bit more. Now this t-shirt was developed by dabbing things off, so I'm going to use that. And I'm just going to really quickly wash it out because it might be a bit too dark for me. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, there we go. Actually, it's working well. I like that. It's not terribly dark. I'm going to lift it again in a few moments, but I really just want to go around some of the parts, certainly around the darker areas that lead into white. I kind of want to use the wash to blend it in and kind of tone it down a little bit. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to do another wash, but I'm going to put more Titanium White into it. So it's going to be much wider, much lighter. And there we go. This one should work nicely. And I'm going to just bring it under the hairline here. Yeah, there we go. Super. And this brush is allowing me to get a nice angle or a nice line on it. There we go. Brilliant. So I want that there. And I'm going to come back down to the muzzle. So back down to the kind of nose area. And I'm going to just bring the wash around. Now what's on this paintbrush is really wet, really, really wet. So not a lot of pigment, as you can see, there's not a lot being laid here, but it's just giving me what I want. And if I want a bit more in a certain part, I'm just going over it a little bit more. Now, if you look up around the ear, I haven't done a lot of work in the ear. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a darker wash, more pigment on it, and a darker pigment as well. Not as wet. And I'm just going to fill in the ear. I'm just going to come down here into this section as well. So there we go. Brilliant. And I'm going to come up into the hair again, just with this wash. I'm not going to cover the whole of the hair, of course, but I just want to add more definition. So as you can see, the horse is becoming much grayer than it was, or a much darker gray than it was. And now what I want to do is I want to lift it. I want to add lots of highlight. I want the horse to be much paler, but this gray is really what I'm going for as well. So I'm going to do that now, not with a wash, although I am going to use a titanium white wash at the end, just for certain sections of the hair and then certain highlights. I shall show you what I mean in a minute. So now what I'm going to get is a big chunk of titanium white and a little bit of gray, or a little bit of black. So titanium white and black, we're going to mix a nice gray mix. And we're just going to now go over where I had the wash a few minutes ago, and I'm just going to lighten it up. Just certain sections of it. Just going to bring it up a little bit, like here. There we go. Incredible. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And down into this part. And we're just going to, bit by bit. As I say, this is all step by step. It's like, how do you climb a mountain? Step by step. You can't just start and have it finished immediately. Okay, superb. Okay, brilliant. So this is lighting up. As I'm applying more of this mix, I'm putting more titanium white into it. So you can probably see it is lighting up a bit. So it's getting back to a kind of stage that it was at a few moments ago, but it still has that gray in it as well. So nice depth. I want to bring some more down here too. We had warmed it up earlier with a mix of umber and sienna, burnt umber and sienna, and I'm just covering over that. Now what I'm going to do in a second is go back in with some more black, Mars black, and just kind of bring that down. I said it earlier, I like to build it up and bring it down and build it up and bring it down. That's kind of the technique that I use, that I've developed over the 14 or so years that I've been painting, or more. I mean, I've been painting since I remember really. So there we go. I'm going to bring this. Now I'm just going to do some more work like this, just more highlight work that I'm not going to speak. So you can fast forward through, you can pause it now, you can do your own kind of highlight work, or you can just watch because it's going to be speeding through. So what I'm going to do now is add some Mars Black. Now it's going to be a Mars Black with dipped in the water, so it is a bit washier than it would be. It's not straight up Mars Black. And I'm just going to go around the horse's muzzle. Not fully, I just want to really gently add some black in over some of the other tones that are there. Really purposefully putting down the black. I'm not just applying it wherever, I'm actually focused on where I want it to go. And that's where I'm applying it. Okay, there we are. So I'm just lifting the tone of the black. That's here. And I'm adding a little bit here. And I'm being really delicate with the brush. I'm not putting too much pressure on it as I'm applying. And I'm just kind of feeding it in here. I'm going to wash a bit of it off the paintbrush. There might be a bit too much black pigment still on it. So I'm just going to take it down. And I just want to bring it up, bring some more shade in here to build some depth, back up into the ear, and then around the ear, and the kind of mane and forelock line here, a bit more into the forelock here, and there we go. So this is really what I'm aiming for. I'm going to do a bit more work in this here. So again, you can pause me, you can kind of catch up with your own stuff if you want. I'm just going to do some of this around the mane, and yeah, just add some nice depth and definition, which is exactly what I'm looking for. when I mentioned a few minutes ago that I'm going to do a titanium white wash, what I meant was I'm going to get a bit of titanium. We're going to use this brush, which is kind of the flat head, and I'm going to mix it down. So probably I'm going to make it pretty wet. And what I'm going to do is just drag it across the mane. Maybe a bit more pigment in that. Bring it across certain sections of the mane that I want to kind of pop out. There we go. So it's not covering the color beneath too much. I just want it to flow over. And the same up around here. I'm gonna do the same thing over. Awesome. So it's a nice wash. You're still getting all of the tone beneath pretty much. It's just like you're laying a curtain on top of the colors. So nice and gently. There we go. Because I want to take away some of the warmth from here, and I just want it to almost pop through, not be lost too much. I'm going to bring this wash down onto the muzzle of the horse as well. Down here, not too much, but I just want to shape it and give some curves so it gives a bit more definition. So this process really is building up, taking away, building up. I know I keep saying that, but that's what it is. You just gotta go at it and bring it up and bring it down, bring it up and bring it down. You'll find what works for you. I mean, this is what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, you'll find your own way. Now this brush is giving me some super marks as well, like the other ones, in terms of just line marks that it's leaving behind, which can be kind of hair looking. As I'm applying this wash of titanium white, I'm building up more titanium to water than I was at the start, just kind of gradually bringing it up. And I'm highlighting parts of the horse as I'm going. So little highlights, the mane as well. And this is what I'm going to focus on doing for the next couple of minutes. Again, you can pause, you can go and get your bits and pieces together. You can come back to me, follow what I'm doing. You can take it in your own time, but this is pretty much it. Up here into the ear. So we get this ear at an angle. So of course, horses' ears are hairy, and we just got to build them in. You always know what a horse is doing based on its ears, pretty much. Its ears are forward or back, or one is turned and one is not. You can kind of tell what mood they're in. So if horse's ears are flat back against its neck, or as flat as possible, it's not a good sign. Okay, brilliant. So there we go, bit by bit. Super. And now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to give a bit more of a wash up here. There we are. Now, as you can see, this is what a wash is doing. It's taking down that kind of warm tone, but not covering it completely, because that's not what I want. I just want the warmth of the umber and some of the sienna to kind of come back a little bit. Not too much, but just a bit. There we go. So I'm going to get back into this brush here, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is grab some black. Again, we're Mars black, no tone change. It's literally just straight up Mars black. And I'm just going to go into the eye here. I'm just going to bring out the eye a little bit, give it a bit more depth, a bit more definition. And the same on the nose here. So there we go. Around the nose, down around the mouth here, and the same up and around here. So I'm almost outlining without actually outlining. I'm going to do some lines up here. It's more of an illustrative look that we're going for. I'm going to do some up here. Not too much. I'm going to take some of the paint off the paintbrush, and I'm just going to go back in nice and gently. There we are. Super. So just building nice shadow in there. There we are. Awesome. And then I'm going to go back in. I know I keep going in and out and in and out and up and down. Okay, I'm going to go back in. I'm going to do some more work on the mane and with highlights, and then we are finished. Okay, looking good. I'm happy with that. Now, So I'm going to wash off my brush now, so there's no any other color, because I just want titanium white, straight up titanium white. And what I'm going to do is come in here and just put in bits of highlight around here. Like I said earlier, you can pause at this point. This is just bit by bit, and then I'm going to come in and do the same around the mane. And I'm going to add in just lovely strokes of titanium white for the hair. So that's what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes. You can pause me again if you like. There we go. Now, finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as a lot of you know, who know horses, you know that horses, like cats and like dogs and other animals, have whiskers. And what I'm going to do is just pop a couple of whiskers onto this horse. And the whiskers, of course, like with other animals, allow the horse to find out where it's going. Now, the whiskers are going to be so light here. I'm being really gentle. You're not really going to be able to see them, but if you look closely, you will. Now, what I'm going to do is just finally, as we're coming to the end, I'm just going to put in some highlights around here. Finally, a little bit more hair down here on the horse's kind of jaw and chin. There we go. And then into the eye. Now, what I'm going to do with the eye is I'm just going to get very little pigment on the brush, white titanium pigment, and I'm just going to draw in or gently scrub in a kind of oval shape just for the eye. So as you can see there, we're getting in that eye, like there's a light bouncing off it. So there we go, brilliant. And then finally, I'm just going to go around the horse, around its silhouette, and just mark in little bits of highlight. Now, the thing about this is, and a lot of artists you might talk to, and you might have experienced this yourself, you just don't know when to stop. And sometimes you just gotta stop, you just gotta call it. Sometimes you just know, sometimes you could go on forever. For me, I could go on with this. As I said at the start, it could take me days to paint a painting like this. Now, I've done this one in probably 2 hours, and it's a bit too speedy for me, to be honest, although I am a speed painter as well, and I paint big paintings on stages in the space of 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. But this one is incredibly quick. So the great thing for you guys is you can pause it at any time. You can take as long as you like. It's a bit of a challenge for me to put something out there that is taking me such little time, but I do like it. There we go. So there we are. Okay. Stephen, stop painting is what I say to myself. There we go. Just a few little more marks that I'm going to make in here, and I'm just going to bring in a little bit of color here, really nice and gently, a little bit here, definition, down into here, and up here. I'm going to say it again. Stephen, stop painting. Okay, nearly done. Here we are. And this is just because I just love painting. I just love getting to this point, and it's just, just fun. And it's about having fun. And here, I just want to bring in some more white here. I love this process, and I love horses. So now, there we go. Okay. Okay, I think we're done. Okay, brilliant. So this is this is it's inspired by the grey horse Macha, which was one of Cuchulain's horses, Macha of Celtic mythology. So yeah, there we go. I hope you all have fun painting it. I do have others in the series, so check them out and have fun painting. If you want to gift it on, do. If you want to hold on to it, well done and congratulations. And thank you for tuning in.